A very warm welcome to Daily Dispatch powered by HSBC. I'm Priya Sheth, and joining me on this very interesting conversation is Rishi Vasudev from G.O.A.T Brand Labs. Thank you very much, Rishi, for joining us today. I want to begin by talking to you about how 2022 has begun with a bang and an acquisition, 90% in Label Life. Tell us a little bit about the acquisition and what it means for the company.
Thank you. Hi, Priya. Thank you for having me on this show. We are very excited to have our first acquisition in the women's western wear space. In online women's western wear and women's wear in general is really the segment which has been growing very fast. Penetrations are going up, and we were on the lookout for a very strong D2C brand which we could acquire and scale massively. That's our business model, and Label Life fits that bill perfectly. It's a very strong brand. Has had very strong collaborations with global brands in the past, has three fantastic celebrities, a great team, and therefore we are all set to take the brand to new heights.
Tell us a little bit about how 2022 looks for you, because there is a lot of momentum in the market. There are lots of interesting D2C brands as well out there. So tell us a little bit about what your pillars of growth and strategy will be going forward.
Yeah, we started middle of last year. We started the whole process of scanning data of the entire market, of all the marketplaces, as well as Instagram, Facebook, to really identify and build a pipeline of brands that could be part of our acquisition drive. And as we start 2022, we have built a very strong pipeline. While we have announced 11 brands, another 10 to 12 brands are in the pipeline in the last stages of acquisition, which will roll out in the next 2-3 months. But beyond that, there's a huge pipeline of brands which we are looking at, talking to founders, and therefore 2022 seems to be, it seems that it will be a year where we will have many more exciting brands joining the G.O.A.T family. And really looking forward to have that, and the set of brands which are already on board are showing great early traction. So we'll build them up into 2 to 3x size by the time we exit the year.
You're looking at investing into so many brands. You're also in the middle of talking to a lot of owners and founders out there. Tell us a little bit about how the investment will really pan out. I do believe that you raised a little bit of money, about $36 million in 2021. What's the kind of plan in terms of investments and fundraise in 22?
Yeah, so we will be announcing very soon some of our the fundraise activities that we have done in the recent past. Wait a bit longer, a few weeks, for that announcement to come in. But yeah, there has been a lot of investor interest in this segment, and they can see that how this model is really adding value to the scale up of D2C brands, and how this is the next huge growth that's going to happen in the e-commerce space. So yeah, more on that in times to come. We'll get back to you with those announcements.
Right, we'll wait to hear from you in terms of what kind of fundraise and what kind of investments is going to go into all of these brands. But tell us a little bit, Rishi. You've been a veteran in this whole fashion space as well. There is a lot of interest in the whole D2C community. We're seeing so many D2C brands spring up over the course of the pandemic itself. We've seen so many D2C brands scale up. Where do you think is that gap or the challenge that that these brands face at this point in time that prevents them from taking it to the next level?
Yeah, so let me start with the opportunity, and then I'll come to the challenge. I think the big opportunity today is that a lot of people are moving to online shopping. Online penetrations are still low in fashion. It's late single digits, and it's all slated to go up to 25-30% over the next 10 years. So if you look at the data of how much e-commerce shopping will be there over the next 10 years, I think the demand will keep going up at least, or the growth of that baseline will be at least 35% every year over the next 10 years. So that's a good news that a lot of business is going to be there out there in online, especially for the lifestyle categories. However, the challenge is that a lot of these D2C brands face is that till they hit a certain scale, it's a challenge to grow the brand. There are too many things that they have to manage, and therefore either they restrict themselves to a few of them. So either they are focusing on one or two channels, or they're focusing on a few areas because that's the competency they've been able to build in the team. They get restricted in the growth that they can achieve. And that's the kind of brands we identify who are doing well on one or two channels. They are doing well in one or two areas, and there are other areas where they have neglected because either in terms of bandwidth or the amount of money they have where they could invest on those. And that's where G.O.A.T comes in, where they say that, okay, if there is a founder who started a great brand, the product is great, the consumer response is excellent. However, they are good in a couple of marketplaces. However, they have challenges on digital marketing and not being able to build up traction on their own website, or they could be available in other markets globally, or they could get into more products, but then they are restricted in terms of the amount or the number of categories they could get into. That's where G.O.A.T comes in with our experience and set of experts, and we start working with those brands to realize that growth. So really the difference between like we have had case studies of brand restructuring and brand revival. I've myself been part of many such journeys in my past, but the difference now is that earlier what used to take 5-6 years, because you would take a brand, build it city by city, brick store by store. Today, you can solve all of that very quickly because e-commerce allows you to scale very fast. So the moment your product market fit is ready, it takes only a very little small time to get to all marketplaces, to get to other markets, and therefore scale. So ability to course correct or launch something new and scale it is much faster today because of the D2C environment. And that's a great opportunity for brands which are strong, which have a strong core proposition or a strong core customer base who love the brand to scale up very fast.
Right. Rishi, I also want to understand in terms of what key metrics you're chasing going forward in terms of any sort of revenue targets that you've set for yourselves, in terms of acquisition targets, any key metrics that you can share with us.
Yeah, so we are looking at in 3 years to hit a turnover of $1 billion, and in 5 years to hit $2 billion. We would like, we are aiming to acquire about 150 plus brands in the next 5 years. And the other important metrics is growth of the brands that we acquire, because it's not what you acquire, just what you acquire, it's also what you do with it. So we would like to grow these brands by a minimum of 2x in the first year, and then get into a steady growth mode post that. And the third metric that we look at is that what is the efficiency that comes to the brand because of aggregation. When you have multiple brands sharing the same infrastructure, same backend, what is the kind of impact you create on those brands because of these economies of scale. So clearly acquiring well to have scale. Second, growing the brands that you acquire by at least 2x in the first year. And third is to really use economies of scale to bring massive profitability benefits to these brands.
Interesting perspective out there. We'll be watching strategy and the kind of traction that you see and are able to make as far as the whole D2C ecosystem is concerned. So thank you very much, Rishi, for joining us today. It's really been a pleasure speaking with you. Thanks so much for your time.